We are Rogue Media Sports.
A lot can happen between falling in love with a house online and owning it. Between imagining living there and breathing in your new home for the first time. Having an advocate who can help you navigate the complex world of financing, inspections, negotiating, analyzing the market, and talking through any anxieties that may pop up, that can make all the difference. That's what the expertise of a Realtor can do for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors and bound by a code of ethics, because that's who we are.
Just in and so good. Thousands of spring deals at your Nordstrom Rack store. Save big today on new arrivals from Kate Spade New York, Nike, Sam Edelman, Free People, and Madewell, starting at only $30. Great brands and great prices on dresses, denim, sandals, designer bags, and more. So rack your look and get first dibs on spring styles you want now from just $30 at your Nordstrom Rack store. What will you find?
Matt Mosley, Ed Werder, Doomsday Podcast, Episode 3. And we got a big one planned for you today. In fact, Amari Cooper is on the agenda, Cowboys' number one wide receiver. And Ed, we have come in here, hair on fire, had a lot of things occur while we're here. Some things didn't occur. The running back is still not here. And I would say so far today they had another padded practice. Ed, what's your biggest takeaway so far in camp?
Well, I think the most interesting development is the fact that, like you said, Ezekiel Elliott's still not here. I don't think the Cowboys feel a real sense of urgency, but there's been a little subtle back and forth between the two sides. I don't think a coincidence that on the day Elliott relocates his holdout to Cabo San Lucas that the Cowboys respond by signing Alfred Morris, the veteran running back who started 5 games in 2017 when Zeke was also in Cabo, engaged in his suspension from the NFL. Productive player, talking to Stephen Jones, probably not a guy that they would have pursued as so soon had Zeke been here, but a guy that they had interest in. He was about to take a physical with the New Orleans Saints, so the Cowboys reacted when they knew they had the opportunity to get a player that they were comfortable with at the running back position should it become necessary to play without Zeke, and I think they have to take that seriously.
I do think and I thought, Ed, you gave some good information on this August 6th date that is coming up that some people have pointed to as a day, hey, Zeke almost has to be in by then. You have been told by your sources that maybe that's not as big of a date, and as you explained yesterday, and that Zeke may go right on past that. You get the feeling from our conversation with Steven, and boy, people loved our episode 2 from out here, that the fear or consternation, it hasn't really set in yet about starting a season without Zeke. Now, if they get well into the preseason and he's still not with the team, I mean, there's going to start to be some concern. And it's going to be interesting. And I think the guy you're going to hear from here in a little bit, wasn't it fascinating, too, that both Dak and Amari, who are in similar spots in their careers and in their contract.
They're closer to being out of contract than Ezekiel Elliott is, because the Cowboys have a minimum of 2 years of control and still one more year on Zeke's contract because he was a first-round pick, and they don't have contracts beyond this season for their quarterback and the wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think that's it's very interesting to watch. People have different approaches. I also think it speaks to the nature of that position. Running backs have that sense of urgency. I need to get all the money I can for a short amount of years that I might be able to play.
They have the shortest careers in the NFL, and because Zeke was a first-round draft pick, the Cowboys get 5 years of control, as opposed to only 4 years of control over Dak Prescott, who was not a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick. And just the nature of the position, the potential of an injury, and in his case, the off the field, which Stephen Jones says will be part of their evaluation as far as how they structure the contract and how much they're committed financially to it. I think the Cowboys, despite what Jerry Jones has said, I think they fully recognize the value that Ezekiel Elliott brings to this football team, and I think one way or another before the season starts they'll get him here But it is interesting that he and the other players took a different tactic to try to reach the same result.
Yeah, it is the Doomsday Podcast, and Ed Warder, Matt Mosley out here, episode 3. As we fly home to Dallas, we'll continue with our camp coverage once the team returns, and we'll be all over it. Lots of observations to be had. But Ed, without further ado, we sat on a couch. I was kind of kidding. I said I told Amari to go sit on the couch, and he did.
He's very
very coachable player, and then we got a good picture of you on the couch with him. So here is our interview. 15 good minutes with Amari Cooper, number 1 wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. It is the Doomsday Podcast, number 1 NFL podcast in the country, and Amari Cooper, Cowboys' number 1 wide receiver, joining us moments after practice. And Amari, 1 year ago today, there you are, Oakland camp. Probably thought maybe I'll spend my career here. How strange is it to think back on all the things that have changed since those days?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it's strange because, nothing is certain in this business. But I did always feel that I would play for one team my entire career. But it just didn't work out that way. But I'm so glad to be a Dallas Cowboy because, looking back on things, coming out, if I had to choose, the top 2 or 3 teams that I would want to play for, the Dallas Cowboys would have been top of that list. So I'm glad to be here.
You made a huge difference in the performance of the passing game and the offense in general, but in particular Dak Prescott. You guys have now had a whole offseason, or will have had a whole offseason to work together. How much improvement do you think you guys have made from a chemistry standpoint?
I think we've made some strides, especially earlier in the summer and in the spring. Today is really only day 2 going against the defense, but since I've gotten here, we've been completing a high percentage of our passes in terms of his connection with me. So we can only build on that.
How were you able to come in and have the kind of dramatic impact that you did in the middle of the season last year?
Yeah, I think just opportunity, and then his game matching my game. He does a good job. I don't know if he's ever been a pass catcher before, but he really understands it from the receiver's perspective. So that makes my job easy.
This is sort of a unique situation where the 3 biggest stars on offense, you, Zeke, and Dak, are all sort of up for contracts right now. Do you ever, since y'all are in such a unique position, I know you haven't really, dwelled on it, it doesn't seem like, unless people like us ask you, but do y'all ever, since you're all kind of going through the similar type things, do you ever visit about it at all? Not the money of it, but just kind of what it's like to be going through that?
Not really. Yeah, we never really visit or talk about it. I think it's more of a personal thing anyway,
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no.
What's your confidence level in Jerry taking care of you and getting something done before the season? And would that be significant for you to be able to play the season without having to be concerned at all about that?
I don't know how to answer that question because I don't have a confidence level in it because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what was your second question?
I'll ask a different one. I don't think we were going anywhere with that one.
No.
Jason Witten said that he's come back and seen a completely different quarterback in Dak in terms of his confidence level, his leadership, his execution. Have you seen that transformation to a certain degree as well?
Well, I think it'll be more difficult for me to see the transformation because Witten was with him as a rookie. When I came in last year, he was already a great leader, vocally and just by example. And, he was already a really good thrower of the football. So, I haven't really seen a leap because I just got here.
Sanjay Lau, your wide receivers coach, has you guys carry bricks in your hands and walk across the field at the end of every practice. What have you found, if anything, does that benefit?
Yeah, just making your hands stronger, your fingers stronger. So when you catch that football, the ball won't just go through your hands.
What sense do you have about how good this team can be and the internal expectations that exist?
Just based off of what we did last year, based off of the youth that we have on our team, and then the success that the young players have been having. Of course, we feel like we can build off of that because we have the same core young guys, and we were right at the cusp last year, and we feel like, this is the time for us to take that next stride.
When you look back on that Rams game, knowing you were knocking on the door and had a chance to get to the title game, and I'm sure you think back on that thing, not quite being able to complete that one. What do you think's the biggest thing y'all need to do to get over that hump?
Yeah, we needed to make more plays. We came out, we scored first, and I look at every time I'm on a team and we go down and score the first drive, I feel like we should score every drive. If you score every drive, you can't lose. You know what I mean? So, we just didn't continue that momentum that we built, and that's where we messed up because they're a very high-scoring team in the Rams. So we just need to make more plays.
What kind of influence do you think Randall Cobb's acquisition will have on the offense and the receiver corps?
He's a playmaker, a guy who can create separation in the slot position. Exactly what we need right there, to take the pressure off of us guys out wide, and just to be another threat, another threat that defenses have to worry about.
What do you think Michael Gallup's capable of in his second year in the NFL?
I think he's capable of a lot. They say you make that biggest leap between your first and second year, so the time is now for him.
How much different do you feel like with Kellen Moore's influence? You spent off-season with him now you're in training camp with him. How different? I know you're not going to change every one of your plays, but just the deception and that part of it, how different will this look, do you think, this season?
Like you said, of course we're not going to just change every play. We're running a lot of the same stuff. I think we're just masking it different.
Any more use of like bunch formations and stuff from what you can tell yet?
We've always used bunch formation. We have a lot of different formations. I think I would say, like I said, we're masking it different. So when I say that, I mean like the shifts and motions, marrying the plays together. Like if we have a run play, we have a pass play off of it, and so that we won't be predictable.
How appealing to you was the idea of coming to Dallas, not just because of the franchise's history and so forth, but because you had a young quarterback, a young, great running back to kind of, the three of you can maybe do together what some other groups have done here in Dallas.
Yeah, that's a big thing. It's important. We get to grow together. I mean, I just turned 25. Dak just turned 26 yesterday, and Zeke just turned 24. So we're all really close in age, and we'll get to grow, build that camaraderie, and it means a lot, when you are close in age with your teammates, because you do some stuff off the field, and it just builds trust. And like if we're in the heat of the moment and I'm really close with one of the guys and Zeke or Dak comes up to me and say, hey man, we need you to make a play, just me being close with them, it's going to mean something, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to somebody I'm not as close to. If he tells me something like that, then it's like, it's different.
What's it like when you take over a game as a receiver like you did against the Eagles last year?
I don't know. It's just, you feel like that's what you're supposed to do every game. That's how I feel, if given the opportunity. So I don't know.
You were too young to even probably remember the triplets too much. I mean, you were a kid when they were doing their thing. But you said, the Cowboys were one of your favorite teams. Which, are you like an old school Drew Pearson guy, or Irvin? Which one of your, or even Dez, more modern day? Was there any of those guys your favorite receiver growing up?
No. To tell you the truth, I'm a Dolphins fan because I'm from Miami. I'm just a hometown guy. But those guys, obviously, I know much about those guys, and I've watched all of their highlights. If anybody, it was Terrell Owens. He was my favorite receiver growing up.
Another Cowboys receiver.
Yeah. So I think you picked the wrong guys. I think I'm too young for Michael Irvin.
Yeah. Wow, what a statement that is. I'm too young for Michael Irvin. Well, I covered him in his prime.
You're basically calling Ed pretty old.
I'm too young for him, and I'm kind of too old for Dez, just off of the mere fact that when he got in the league, I was like, getting recruited, and it was I was looking at those guys as competition by that point. So I would say T.O. Yeah.
You don't seem to have some of the diva tendencies that you mentioned. T.O. Michael had a few of them, as Ed famously knows. Do you have some of that in you, or is that just not at all? Does any of that kind of come out on game day? Because you're just, a lot of these wide receivers are pretty loud. OBJ, even when it's quiet in the off season, he makes a lot of waves, but we don't hear that much from you.
Well, I don't really like to make waves, and just bring attention to myself. I've never been that type of person. It's just not my personality. So it's just not who I am.
Yeah.
Don't let that deceive you, though, because I remember Peyton Manning would say, hey, Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, they want the ball too. They just don't have a press conference every time they don't get it.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, listen, that's the biggest thing. The ball, that's the biggest. It feels so. Do you know how good it feels when you catch the ball?
I don't.
When you never caught the ball.
When you have the ball in your hands and you're running it, and everybody's watching you, and you're making a play for your team. I can't even describe it. It feels so good.
What sets you apart, or what is your greatest attribute, do you feel like, as a wide receiver? You have a great ability to create separation. You're a very smooth type of performer. What is it that allows you to get open the way that you do?
I think, God blessed me with this skill set, but I think probably more importantly, he blessed me with the mindset and the just to be ahead of my opponents. For some reason, I'm always planning my routes out before I run them, and I'm always conscious of the routes that I've ran before on the DBs that I've played against, and the routes that I've ran earlier in the game, because I try to marry them together. If I won against someone on a let's say a post route, but when I run a post corner, I'm going to run it similarly to how I ran the post route, knowing that I ran the post on that DB earlier in the game, and that's just how I play the game, and I think that's probably my best attribute.
Is that preparation that comes before the game by studying your opponent, or is it more in the course of the game you're taking these mental notes about your matchups and how you've gotten
right? So it's both. When you watch a player on film, you collect data from them, but it's not 100% the truth once you get out there on the field with them, because it's just live action. It's different. The player might have grown a little bit or learned from his previous mistakes, or it just doesn't look on film how it actually is in person. So you have that data from the film session, but then you kind of learn as you go while you're on the field. And
I don't know if Ed knows this. You're known as the master chess guy on the Cowboys team, and who taught you how to play chess? And is there anybody in the Cowboys organization who really pushes you? I've heard that Cheeto, you do pretty, you kind of own him a little bit. Is there anybody that's giving you a run for your money, or has nobody really challenged you yet?
Yeah, so I'm not a master chess player. It's different. It's levels to that game, really. But I'm pretty good. I would say I'm intermediate and probably a little advanced. But in these circles, I'm a master chess player because I think I just played Cheeto again last night. I'm like 60-13 against him. So, he only beats me if I just lay off of him a little bit. But he's the second best. So, he's better than all the other guys.
So would you like the Cowboys to acquire a chess player who can give you a challenge?
Well, actually, when I was at the Raiders, we had some bad. It was some pretty good chess players there, to be honest. But I wasn't as good as I am now. But those guys were pretty good.
Were you in the chess club at Alabama?
I was not.
You think they had one?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of course they had one. I wasn't really taking chess as seriously in college. I really started, I started back playing in college, but it wasn't consistent. I was probably really a rookie then. I started taking it back serious my rookie year because, like I said, it was some guys in Oakland who could really play.
Well, we really appreciate that. Would you tip us off when you begin your holdout so we can...
His agent was just in town. I had dinner with Jerry and Steven last night.
Hey, watch out. Tell Jerry in person can be pretty charming. So I would not let my agent be with him in a room. I would stay on the phone or something like that.
Yesterday, Jerry told me that the two of them were up there in the little box up there, and he gave my agent a soda, and my agent then sold me down the river for a soda. So I know he can probably be charming, but yeah.
Jerry didn't get the check at dinner last night.
Yeah, sold me down the river for like $1 or something. So.
Thanks, Amari.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, very, very fun. And there it is, our interview with Amari Cooper. And Ed, a really soft-spoken guy, thoughtful guy, likes some of that chess. Says a master chess player as a Cowboy, maybe not overall, but with the Cowboys. And but an interesting guy. And boy, he really lit up when he started talking about. I think you'd asked him earlier about playing. What's it like to dominate a football game? He didn't think much of it, and then suddenly at one point he said, "You don't know what it's like to catch a ball." And really got into it after that. But boy, you ask him about the dramatic impact that he had on the Cowboys' numbers and Dak's numbers, and I know you have some stuff to kind of back that up.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a trade that saved the Cowboys season. It was the first time they've ever come from being 3-5 to reaching the playoffs, and the key move in all of that was acquiring Amari Cooper for a first-round pick. And Dak Prescott was clearly a different quarterback once the trade was made. He threw 12 touchdown passes, 5 of them to Cooper, and only 3 interceptions during the team's 7-1 finish after a 3-5 start. So it was a tremendous difference that he made. In fact, among all of the receivers in the NFC East, Cooper had the highest passer rating on balls thrown to him at 121.6. So a far more dominant player than I think most people realize. I don't think really that was his reputation around the NFL, and I think a lot of people questioned the Cowboys making the trade, and I think he justified it not only with the performance that he delivered right away the final second half of the season, but as he said, he just turned 25. He's still younger than the quarterback and a year older than the running back. Now, I also think it's possible that he's the last of the 3 of these guys to sign, simply because it seems like the quarterback market is set, right, with the Russell Wilson deal and the Carson Wentz deal, and the running back parameters seem set between Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley. But at wide receiver, I think there's reason for him to wait for Michael Thomas in New Orleans and Julio Jones in Atlanta to kind of create the market for the wide receiver position.
And as we talked about, his agent was in camp and spent some time with Jerry Jones and seemed to have, kind of nice back and forth. We saw that after practice yesterday, and and he told us a story about the soda. So I think it's going to be fun to watch that. Other things that have occurred in this camp, the Tony Pollard camp phenom thing hasn't quite materialized. He got stuffed today. I have heard a lot of people comment, Ed, we've been looking to see what's Witten going to be looking like on his return. I know, people really seem to think that Blake Jarwin, another tight end who came on late last season, has made some strides, in that he seems like the guy that could be a breakout type. But also, we've been through these camps with Martellus Bennett and others thinking, okay, this is the new hot, young tight end, and it doesn't always materialize because Witten does not like to come off the field. You asked Garrett about that the other day, and he almost seemed a little perturbed about it. It's not like you to perturb anybody.
Well, it's not at all. It's an unusual characteristic, but a unique quality that I sometimes possess and brought out at this camp. And, yeah, I was just asking Jason how difficult or what are the challenges in getting Witten to buy into this, being a part-time player sort of thing, because he's only, in his last year in 2017, he was the only tight end in the NFL that played more than 1,000 snaps. So that's what he's used to, and he's a highly competitive guy. He's not going to want to come off the field, and I think it's going to be hard to convince him that somebody else is better than he is. Yeah. He didn't come back to sit on the bench. He came back to play, and I think in many cases he's had far more control over his playing time than even the head coach would like, but the head coach emulates him and holds him in such high esteem that he sort of gave all the power to the player in this particular instance. So it was interesting when he was in pads yesterday for the first time since his season finale in 2017. His wife and kids were out here. Michelle's his wife, and I heard her talking to Jason Garrett. She said, "Oh my gosh, I was so nervous about that." Just about 37-year-old guy going out and playing tight end in a practice in pads, and Garrett assured her he had no such concerns whatsoever, and he has no doubts that Jason Witten's going to be an effective player in, what is this, his 16th or 17th season in the NFL?
We could be calling him Coach Witten next season. You never know.
I wanted to ask him about that.
Yeah. And he was wanting to do our deal, but the NFL Network, apparently, our Michael Irvin took precedence over us, which is very hurtful. Also, a bit of news today. Travis Frederick back in pads for the first time and in a long time after he went through that Guillain-Barré. I'm sorry I didn't let you say that. You love saying that. The name of that illness, a very serious illness that he had last year, it basically robbed him of his season. It did rob him of his season. And great to see him back out there. And he told us in a sort of a poignant interview that we had about a month and a half ago in that mini camp, he didn't know for sure. He still won't know for sure, but at least today was the first day in finding out and seemed to hold up okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think he's going to develop a better sense of where he is and what he can get to in terms of achieving his former performance level in the preseason games. How much they use him in those situations, I don't know, because if they didn't already know the value of the player when he was on the field, they certainly learned in his absence what a crucial part of what they try to do on offense he is. And if this offense performs a lot better, I think a lot of it will be because of what Travis Frederick does up front, what a unique player he is at the center position. And I think one more thing, Matt, everybody needs to keep an eye on is Sean Lee unexpectedly missed practice today. It wasn't just a Veterans Day off. He suffered some kind of tweaked the knee. Stephen Jones said after the practice they don't think it's serious, which really I don't think means a lot to us. So that's something that bears watching. Okay,
we'll keep our eye on that. One regret today, we were waiting on Amari, the defensive play caller on this team, who's just been a really, he's been touted as a future head coach in this league. He walked by, kind of dapped me up a little bit and kind of gave me a look like, are you guys not going to interview me? And
Chris Richard.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought our folks knew it, but I'm glad you filled it in. Chris Richard. He had that look on his face like, is the Doomsday Podcast really going to come all the way out here and not talk to me? So let's get him at some point, and we'll talk to Coach Richard.
Let's just come back out. Do we have the budget for that? Let's go to Hawaii.
Absolutely not. Yeah, if you can help, I mean, you're always allowed to contribute to our budget.
I've really held down expenses out here. I've eaten at the hotel, the free breakfast.
They charge for that, by the way.
They charge for that. Well, then I didn't eat free breakfast every day.
No, I can't wait to see the expense report and really comb over that with you. It's been a good trip. I think we've done some good stuff. Kitna was really good. Stephen Jones. I had Tristan Hill involved in the interviews. Who else am I missing? We had Amari today. Randall Cobb was good. Man, that guy's got his eyes are kind of interesting. All right, it is the Doomsday Podcast.
Good night, man.
Live from Oxnard. Good night, everybody.
There are any number of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends in your area may not be what you signed up for. That's where an agent who is a Realtor comes in. Realtors have the expertise to help you find the right price and navigate the process to sell your home in a way that's right for you. That's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries, plus napkins, plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.